Are you waiting to build something big? That's the biggest mistake most people make. We refused to wait, we're in our 20s, and we built a home improvement company past $10 million. Not because we knew everything, but because we were desperate enough to figure it out along the way. If you don't want to waste decades playing it safe, and if you're ready to build success earlier and live stories worth telling and stay ahead of the curve, subscribe now. Let's get into the episode.
Guys, if you want 2026 to be your year, you need to listen to this episode. I'm sitting across from Blake Strange, Justin Pates. You've seen him before, but Blake Strange works for Polypro Concrete Coatings. He's a Kentucky native, now in Fort Wayne, working with revamp companies and closely connected to AE Landscape Borders Network. Recently promoted to sales manager, Blake brings passion, authenticity, and creativity to everything he does, whether it be leading teams, cooking like a pro, which I've seen, he's got proof to back it up, or supporting the local music scene. Blake, I appreciate you coming on. Let's crack these reins.
Yeah, let's get to it. Ooh, that was a nice one.
Iconic. It's been a minute since that happened, so.
This is actually the first episode we've had a live audience. Shout out Colin Scholl. He's hopefully looking to be on one of our next episodes. Guys, what's up?
So this isn't as bad as you said it was going to be, so.
You like that one?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm not a fan.
Don't drink the whole thing. Don't drink the whole thing.
We'll commit to the bed.
Guys, really what I want to talk about today is most people, they go throughout this process of a year. You start the year strong. You wake up at the end of the year and you're like, holy shit, the year flew by, right? Most times nothing changes, right? It takes the person to start right now, right? In January, have a clear goal and clear objectives to go make 2026 the best year yet. What are your guys' thoughts?
You know, I don't necessarily believe in, New Year's resolutions. I think it's a good, new year. So like, I'm going to start or stop something.
Yep. But
one thing I always see is like, even December or, just before the new year starts, it's like, if you're waiting for the new year, you're already behind.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that really resonates with me is just like letting the habits stack and just not letting those stop.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it in the other way, like and I read this in a book, if you do the opposite of what you want to do 2 times in a row, that's a new habit. And I think, they say Rome took however many years to build, but one day to collapse.
Yeah.
And I think that's, that's kind of how most people treat the new year. Once the resolution, the high goes away.
Yeah.
Building the habits to like create a strong foundation, I think, are key. And Blake, I know on a personal level, and I'll let you share as much or as little as you want, but I think 2025, I'm just curious to get to know your thoughts. Like you have a family, you've been you moved away, you moved to Fort Wayne from Kentucky. Like, I'm not sure really anybody here. Like, you take a chance on Polypro, you get promoted. On a personal level, obviously, because I know more than the viewers, it seems like your year has probably had some highs, like some really high highs, and it's probably had some really low lows. Yeah. Like, what kind of insight would you share to people just looking to make 2026 awesome?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is I moved to Fort Wayne in the beginning of 2025, completely new to the area, not knowing anybody here, and I moved here to be closer to family, essentially. And with that, I took a giant risk on not knowing the area, not knowing the location, not knowing what, job sites were, of high value in here. And, I took a risk with, going towards a company that I didn't really know too much about, but I know that the one thing I did have was the hunger and desire to be able to be successful. So obviously Jamie and you took a chance on me when you guys hired me. And, the basis of everything that I did was just, supporting myself, staying true to myself, staying true to my family, and just making sure that I can support them in every way I can. And creating good habits was the biggest part of that. I pretty much locked in from day one on figuring out, okay, everything I need to know about concrete coatings, everything I need to know about, the surrounding area to make it make sense to people on why they need it. And, with that, it took a lot of energy. It took a lot of time. It's not something, like you said, that happens overnight. I had to, have a goal and mindset of what I wanted to do when I came into this job and what I needed to do to be successful. And to do that, is to, pretty much put 100% into everything that you do. And, the effort that you put in is what you're going to get out of it. So
kind of to piggyback off that and like to talk about the three main topics that I want to get to today, the motivation is always going to fade, right? The clarity won't.
Yeah.
Right. So having one clear goal, having direction, if anybody's watching, like that's your number one objective to make sure 2026 is exactly as you see it, right? Which it sounds like you kind of had that as well. And JP, I'm curious to know your thoughts on that as well.
Well, I mean, a lot of people focus on, one specific thing, but like, where does that take you? Like, what do you want that one thing to change when you look at like, the beginning of 2026? And I'm sure like when you first started, like it was rocky.
Oh yeah.
And I mean,
absolutely.
Now you're a manager,
Yeah.
which is pretty nuts. How like, what do you think worked for you? I mean, day to day, just trying to like, learn even what polyurea was, and then now being able to teach others how to, sell it.
Yeah. I think it's just staying consistent with it.
Mhm.
Honestly, just being able to, have that product knowledge, have the knowledge within the company itself, how the company operates, what we do every single day, and then just being able to consistently give that knowledge to people, every single customer that you go to, just being able to, explain to them in full detail, why we are the best and why we are, separate from everybody else. And I think that truly is like, the big benefactor on why we are so successful. We have obviously AE who runs off the same basis that we do. Fence and Deck does the same exact thing. And with that, we have, a strong standpoint of what we do and how we do everything right. And I think it starts just by being consistent. I think that is something that is really, the strong basis of being not only a good sales rep, but being a good person. If you're a consistent person, then, at the end of the day, you're going to be a consistent sales rep. You're going to be a consistent manager. You're going to be consistent in everything you do.
Everyone in your life will know how you're going to show up.
Yeah.
Like there's not going to be a question mark.
Yeah.
And I feel like, me and him have had this conversation as well. The people that leave themselves with a question mark next to it are very dangerous, right? Because they can be really good or they can be really not good, right? Versus the guy that is just going to, exactly how he's going to show up. That's the type of guy that I know I'll go to war with.
Yeah.
There's a difference between consistency and motivation. Like motivation is nothing compared to what consistency can do for you. And, Hormozy talks about this. Like he flips it, right? And it's like people always wonder, or think that it's something that you add and you consistently do. But, look at the things that you shouldn't be doing. And I think, there's a blueprint. There's not necessarily a blueprint to like how, your year's supposed to go or your year's supposed to go. But there's set in stone things that you definitely should avoid so that, your year does end up where you want it to be. Like, for example, it's not like, oh, I'm going to start doing this and I'm going to add this to my schedule. It's like, no, take away certain things that are holding you back and consistently, right?
Yeah.
Say no.
Yeah.
Did you read my notes before the podcast?
No, I'm just good at what I do.
We're piggybacking perfectly, because before the podcast, I was like really diving into this topic. I'm like, how can I make 2026 the biggest year of my life, right? Because we should continuously stack this as an individual. Every single year, you should get healthier, you should get stronger, you should get, more knowledgeable, like expand all of these different things. And it talks about like your non-negotiables, right? The biggest transformations will come from the non-negotiables you set.
Yeah.
Right? They say, I read something in a book, it said, one habit for the mind, or one non-negotiable for the mind, one non-negotiable for your health, and one non-negotiable for your income. Like if you can establish those three non-negotiables, pretty dangerous in 2026.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, man, like you can say, oh, I'm going to start waking up at 4 a.m., but if you're going to bed at 11,
Yeah.
right? Like you need to say no to the late nights.
Yeah.
So then the early mornings are easy. And you have to, even with your income, or what was the third one?
Health, income,
Habits.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's just habits that hold you back, and then there's going to ultimately bleed into the things that advance you.
Yeah.
Always.
I agree on that 100%. If you're not getting rid of bad habits and they stick around with you, then that is something that is always going to hold you back no matter what. Especially like when you talk about, late nights, if you're going out all the time and you're waking up in the morning not feeling 100%, you're not going to be able to give 100% to whatever you're doing, whether it's work, whether it's being, supportive of your family, whether it's being supportive of your friends, whatever it may be. If you're not able to be 100% yourself and 100% able to give everything that you have, then you're not really giving anything of value to anything, because, at the end of all that, that's what makes you, better than the rest, is if you're giving 100% of your effort every single time to every person you're going to, it's going to wear you out, but it's going to be so easy to do. It's going to be so easy to just say, you know what, I'm exhausted, but I feel great doing it because that person that I worked with now knows that everything that I've left on the table is all there. And, I'm able to be, a credible source for them to go off of with that. Whether, like I said, whether it's with customers, whether it's relationships, whether it's friends, whatever it may be, it tracks back to piggybacking off of consistency. You want to be, consistent with everything you do. You want to put that effort into, everything that you do in order to make a stronger mark on things.
As your careers developed, obviously you're in a management position now. Your income's probably raised with that, I would imagine, as well. Like, most people think the higher you go, the easier it gets, right? Do you think, just on a personal level, not even work, have you had to create more non-negotiables for yourself now versus when you were just a sales rep or just a logistics operator at your old organization?
So, like with that, 100% with like, from the sales side, it was obviously driving around a lot. It was obviously, being able to be customer facing every single day. Now it's separated to, managing an entire team and being able to make sure that my team is, 100% able to do what they need to be able to do every single day. The non-negotiables for me are I need to be able to be present and be there for them 100% of the time, whether that's, taking them under my wing and making sure that they're, basically taken care of, whether that's, when I have to kick them in the ass every now and then, whatever that may be. I always think that my biggest non-negotiable as a manager now is being 100% present all the time. Because if you can't rely on someone, especially in a position that is looking over you and looking after you every single day, then not only will that business fail, but that person's going to fail and you're going to fail yourself, at the end of all of that. Availability
is a dangerous trait to have.
Yeah.
If you can just be available all the time, that's what I always tell people. It's hard for other managers and people in our organizations to keep up with me just because I feel like I don't have obligations outside of my girlfriend. So I have 99% availability, right? So if your ability to raise that is extremely dangerous in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, and it's just like with every single day, like, obviously I have my child to take care of, and that's a huge, part of my life. That's my why every single day that I wake up. But, I want to be able to support him no matter what, and being, available to my team and being able to, support and be a big factor in, such a great company, being available is not only going to help everyone involved, but it's going to help myself because I'm going to be able to support myself at the end of the day. So, like it gets back to the non-negotiables, I don't go out anymore. I don't need to. I'm 28 years old. I've had that period of my life where I know, I've had my fun and it's time to settle down and figure out what's right and what is going to set me up for success in the future. And, if I continue doing the next 2 years, like I was doing the last, 5 years, I wouldn't be, setting myself up to be in the position that I'm in now, so it's just all about, being available, being present, being a mentor. And I think just being able to, truly like want to be focused 100% on the job at hand, but also being able to, learn something new every day with the job that you have.
I think that's kind of why, kind of like what you said, you have to have a clear vision of your why. Yeah. Like, your kid, your team underneath you, because if anything else, gets put in front of you, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you have to have the clear goal of like, this is, the avenue that I'm taking. This is the avenue that I'm taking. and anything else is a complete distraction because it takes away from these. It takes away from my availability. And I mean, again, you have to shed layers in order to get lean and double down on one thing instead of spreading yourself thin.
Yeah.
Kind of piggyback exactly what Blake said one last time, and one of the last bullet points I had is your ecosystem today will build tomorrow, right? Your ability to raise your standards literally right now will allow you to stop living the same fucking year over and over and over and over again, right? But it starts with now. It starts with a clear vision, right? It starts with your ecosystem and raising that standard. Who am I around? Who am I positioning myself? Who am I listening to? Right? I think that's another massive player to get you ready to just absolutely conquer 2026.
Yeah.
1,000%. I mean, it can be looked in the same way as in the opposite of like, hey, what's one more time?
Yeah.
What's one more night out?
Yeah.
But again, it's like you're just repeating the pattern, and tomorrow will look the same until you make that one decision to stop.
It's like I don't know if it's corny to say, but it's like a cycle of abuse on your psyche. Like if you're really like, not putting your best interests, at the forefront of your mind, you're always going to end up being in a position to where, it's eventually going to make you unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're unhappy, that's the hole that you have to claw yourself out of, and then you have to restart again. So, eliminating those bad habits, quit making the excuses that you've made year after year after year. I'm not going to act like, 2 or 3 years ago that I was in the position to where, I was in the mental clarity to be able to do what I can do now. Mm-hmm. But, when you have, a lot of moments happen in life to where like you really have to laser focus in and understand like, okay, last year I was 27 and I'm like, I got 3 years until I'm 30 and I don't know what direction I'm going to go in right now, but I know that I need to get myself out of this, I don't want to be in food anymore. I've done that long enough to where I understand like that's not the type of goal that I want to do. I did logistics for 2 years. It was good money, but it wasn't sustainable for my mental health because I was, working 90 hours a week, up at 3 a.m., in bed by 12 a.m. And that was a cycle for 2 years to where I was just destroying myself. Yeah. So, I knew that I had the effort and I knew I had the attitude to do what I wanted to do. But I just wanted to make sure that I put myself in the right mental position to be able to attack what I wanted to do. Obviously, I took a giant leap of faith coming here, but I knew the next job that I get into, I want to commit myself to 100%. And I want to be able to make sure that I put myself in a position within the next year and a half to where I am where I want to be. And I busted my ass last year. There was a lot of good that came out of it. There was a lot of bad that came out of it. Do I have any regrets on anything that I've done over the past year? No. Do I think that there's things that I could do better this year? Absolutely. I think that every single year you need to kind of reflect on what you're doing and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and just continue to build those foundations for doing the right things. And like you said, just kicking out what you're doing wrong. If you're making excuses on it still, that's exactly what they are. They're just excuses. Mm-hmm. You're just going to keep putting yourself back in the same position every single time. And then you're gonna ruin yourself because of it. And then 5 years are gonna pass, and you're like, holy shit, like, what have I done? So, like I said, last year was a huge turning point for me because I knew what I wanted out of myself. I knew what I wanted for, my family and my child. Everything I knew what I had to do. I had to make a lot of sacrifices, but at the end of the day, it was all worth it. And I know I'm gonna have to do the same thing this year.
I think Blake's mic just caught on fire.
Yeah, no kidding. I saw smoke coming from it. I'm not.
If you guys just listen to that, that's exactly what we just talked about. Several of the things that we just discussed right now on this podcast were exactly what you just said you did last year to get what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
The last question I have for you guys is like looking back at 2025, both of you, what do you feel like you wish you would have known before last year to get prepared for the year you just experienced?
I think the small things matter. Seriously. And I think it's the no's.
Yeah.
Like just saying no, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities, especially if you're in the right trajectory. But in order to, decipher what is right or wrong, like you have to have a clear goal. And I think the no's is just when in doubt, like just say no.
I agree 100% with that. I think it's the same exact thing with it, just knowing, what's going to limit you and what's going to keep you progressing in life. If you keep saying no to the wrong things, you're only going to put yourself in a better position every single day. And just surrounding yourself with the right people every day is going to be able to push you even further. Like you and Jamie have been a huge, I tell you every single holiday or whatever day that we had, hey, thank you for taking me on, man. I appreciate it. And I genuinely mean that because, you took a chance on me and I showed you exactly what I could do. And I proved to myself exactly what I could do. And, I think all of that comes down to is just knowing like, hey, this isn't the right thing for me to do anymore. This is the right thing for me to do. So let's just continue on the path of, progressing every single day, getting 1% better and just, continuing with that.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the appreciation, but also, appreciate yourself for putting yourself in that position, right? Because you did the work. I didn't.
I know. You took the chance though, and I'm forever grateful for that, man.
I appreciate that. Guys, going into, I got kind of one last, close out. Do you guys have any last thoughts on what somebody should do right now to get prepared for 2026? Not even get prepared, start doing right now after they listen to this episode.
I hope this sounds right because it sounds really cool in my mind.
Don't say it.
No. There's nothing. I don't even know what you think I'm going to say. But if you're looking at a mountain right now and it's not, appealing to climb over, right? Like one stone at a time, and those stones matter. Like you will build a mountain that is completely the life that you want.
Yeah.
And I think, again, like it seems impossible looking at how big it is. But if you can just one stone at a time and they matter, like you will build the life that you want. And when you're looking back on January 1st, like, and it's 2027, you'll be really surprised.
I think to add on to that, not only build like stepping stones, building blocks, but like removing the things in your life that you don't need. I think that people get attached to certain things or they get attached to certain vices or a certain lifestyle. And, if you even have the tiniest bit of like an inclination that it is bad for you, I think what you should do in 2026 is like figure those problems that you have out, get rid of them, and then start fresh. Because it's like you said with the stepping stones for the mountain. If you're getting rid of anything that is hindering you from being better every single day, you are never going to get better because of it. You need to, essentially put it on the chopping block, say, hey, I can't do this to myself anymore. I can't surround myself with the wrong people. I can't surround myself with the wrong vices. I can't surround myself, with anything that's going to cause me to be, not what I want to be. So yeah, that's 100% what the advice that I would give is just chop the shit out.
Chop it out.
Yeah.
Guys, 2026 is coming, whether we like it or not, whether they like it or not.
We're halfway through January already, man.
It's not a decision of if 2026 can be your year. It's a question of, are you willing to do the uncomfortable things that are required to make 2026 your year? We've all sat here and decided we're going to take the leap. We hope you guys will take it with us, and we'll see them on the next episode.